Obviously, you can catch the videos on Twitch. We're running this at 11 o'clock at 11:15 p.m. Eastern Time and whatnot. So, without further ado, I hate my home game. I hate everything. I'm old and curmudgeon-y. What's up, short person?
An idea.
Okay, I'm in the middle of talking to 0 people on the internet. What can I do for you? I'm sorry.
So, what if every episode, all the people that are present, we
Yep.
just have like the different layers in Photoshop,
Right?
and then we can get rid of certain layers for who's not there.
I'm getting my short one is currently petitioning for the job of art director for the show. So apparently the plan is now to have different faces on the window that we add or subtract based on who's talking. That was already my idea. You stole it from me.
I didn't know about it.
Little thief. See how she is. Anyways, man. So,
Oh,
so I have figure with this segment we're just gonna ideally pick a single topic for each of us, just something that we are had issue with or that came up from our home game. Now, last week we were off because some people wanted to watch the fights. This week we're off because some people suck. But carrying through on a prior conversation that you and I had, and some things that have kind of come up and some arguments I've been having on the interwebs with other people that are my friends. My thing that I hate about the home game is we have people at our table who have obtained some very strange ideologies on good and evil and how to define those terms and how people should act based on that bizarre definition. And I realize it's been thrown it's thrown a monkey wrench into a lot of different portions of the game, story arcs, how people respond to things, and then has led to a lot of disagreements about actions in the game and decisions that are made. So that's my current bitch. So I want to ask you, can you, how do we play a game when you're trying to build stories that have some morality in them, when there are people whose ideas about that are wildly different than your own?
that is the question that we are trying to answer, and we haven't figured out
Yeah, because, like,
because
yeah, I mean, in particular, I will for anybody that picks this up. So, one member of our group has kind of evolved into this ideal that any action can be justified if it's to protect your own interests based on what you think good is. So, so if it's to protect your group and your interests, it's okay to brutally torture somebody. If you think somebody might be an obstacle to what you want to accomplish, you can murder them, and that becomes a good act because you're doing it to perpetuate your vision.
Do that.
See, even my 9-year-old knows that's crazy.
A little bit off, just a little off.
Yeah, so
And I'm not. I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just kind of listening in over here.
I know I know she's listening in. She's like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but that sounds crazy. Well, she's not wrong. So, yeah. So as the person building story arcs and trying to run the game, it's a little bit it's not as big a problem in our current home game, which is Shadowrun, which is a much more morally ambiguous universe.
Technically, it's anything
Yes.
because,
But yeah, I don't know how to deal with it because the traditional guidelines. And I was having this argument on Facebook today because I can't help myself when people say stupid shit. I try to keep quiet for as long as possible, and then I lose my mind.
Okay.
How do you I mean, how can you build a narrative? I'm struggling when the expectations that you would have for people's responses
Good person. Yeah.
is so wildly different, especially when their ideology that they fervently believe is good, so much so that they would not accept the fact that the society they created in the game, in their own game, that operated under those tenets wasn't a lawful good society. I had that argument for fucking 3 weeks, trying to
That was totally
trying to sort that out. And now it keeps coming up in the games that
It was lawful neutral. It was lawful.
Yep.
See, he's got an issue with his morality side.
Yes.
He understands the law and chaos portion, but the morality side is slightly askew.
Yeah, and part of my discussion about this, and it's part of what I had today. Good and evil are. Go ahead.
Good and evil are concepts that, yes, you never think that you probably never think you're evil.
No.
Because unless you, at least not objectively, you're not going to think that way. But at the same time, you may understand that, at least by the definition of the game, there's specific things that equal good and specific things that equal evil. I mean, as long as we stay on the same scale, using a scale that's been set out in front of us.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as we can agree on that.
Use that scale. He doesn't use the same scale and then doesn't explain what his scale is.
Yeah, no. Well, because this thing, what's the saying? Every hero is the villain of their own story. Or sorry, I got that backwards. Every villain is the hero of their own story. Thank you. I have not had nearly enough coffee today. And I'm literally watching this with two of our friends, one in our home game and then another buddy of ours, and it's they both have proposed the exact same thing, that their action, because of their reasons, and because of in one case because of their goal, their reason, their justification, and the other one because of who the target of their actions are. Suddenly, an objectively evil action is all of a sudden a good thing. It's now good. Evil is good because of it, and I want to smash my face into the screen. I
haven't ever thought that anything that we've really done was good.
Yeah, well, again, with our home games, Shadowrun's a bit more morally ambiguous. You're not playing heroes. I don't expect, I constantly have to kind of check myself because I'll get going on something, and I'll be like, oh my god, I can't believe you guys did that. But then I'm like, take a step back. These are not, I didn't, to use D&D terms, your employers didn't hire a group of paladins for this job. So there's going to be some of that kind of gray area. Now, I accept that, and I'm okay with it. But I still in my head would like to think that the characters they're not murderers. They're not just savage, serial killers, murder hobos, as the term for fantasy goes. Like that there's some things they won't do. I would be horrified if one of the characters is like, hey, you know what? Where's my short one? Let's rape the information out of this NPC. Like, whoa, slow down. Think we might have gone a little too far to the left here. You better calm down. Right? But it gets a little fuzzy. It gets a little fuzzier when it comes to killing people because obviously we've been conditioned, and this is another argument for another time about the about murder-based role-playing. Technically, if you go by video games, you get rewarded for how many things you kill, and as I've gotten a little bit older, I used to be really, really very opposed to having the quote-unquote monster races, be available as player characters because I'm like, well, they're all evil. Well, yeah, but I mean, all of them, every single one of them, they're born evil. They have
every single individual has to be evil, right?
Yeah, and then you get into the debate.
certain classes of monster races, perhaps things like, I don't know, undead,
Yeah.
probably evil.
Not too many altruistic liches running around there helping out people. Yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing.
I mean,
even then,
the lich is a different. The intelligent undead, I can give the benefit of the doubt that they could be neutral.
yeah.
They'd be good.
Or you know what though? Again, part of
do enough good acts.
Yeah,
they could become neutral. I don't think that they could become good. I don't think it's possible.
Part of my growing, changing opinion about this is the idea that, at least from a narrative standpoint, huh?
Start decent coffee.
You started coffee?
Said you don't have enough, so.
Okay, hold on a second, so I make sure my house doesn't burn down. How did you start coffee?
So you put the water in.
Okay.
And I took out the old
coffee and put a new one in?
Uh-huh. I made sure it's pressed down.
Yep.
I did what the blue line thing said to do.
Okay.
Then I put the thing down.
Okay. Then you hit the button on the side?
Yes.
All right, my house may catch on fire in a minute, or I might have a delicious cup of coffee. Did you put a cup under there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure which one to use.
It's a bigger one.
How big?
Well, a coffee cup, like one of these guys.
Okay, put in that one.
Was it clean?
Yeah, I was the one that was hanging up.
Oh, sweet. You're awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't even try and turn my kid into my little manservant, but here I am getting coffee made for me. All right. I guess you can hang around for a little bit then.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. You could have hung out anyways, but so have a seat. You can listen to us jabber on. But sorry, where was I? My apologies to the interwebs. So part of my softening on this was the idea that at least from an interesting narrative arc, you could make a case for that. You could have these races. You can have examples of these races that are the exception. Now, what I still adamantly refuse to deal with is every character in a party being some random weirdo race that doesn't fit into the society, and then just hand waving that and be like, well, whatever. No one bats an eyelash when a Githyanki...
A group of monsters walks up and says that, hey, we're good.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, who's in your party?
One or two people. Depending on how big the group is, one or two, okay. I can understand that. Some limitations on that. That makes a lot more sense. Now, if the group of monsters that would roam as a group of good guys, they would have to do a lot to prove that they were good before anybody would let them into a town.
Yeah, and then and there I always had problems with
again, could do it, but they would have to stay on the outskirts and the fringes and help like the farmers protect them against raiding other minions and things like that until they grew a reputation for actually being good. Then they'd still get jeered at and
maybe
probably spit at and things like that. But I mean, they might actually be able to make it into town then.
Yeah. Now, I would be okay with it if and this is my problem with the current races they have set up in fantasy games, where you have access to all that. They don't do anything to weave the bulk of them into society. So we'll just take for example, ogre, like minotaurs in Dragonlance. They are woven into the society. They're not random monsters. They have their own nations. They're rare, but there are enough examples of them.
They're set apart but woven in.
Yeah, so you could have one of them show up, be in a group or whatever. That's fine, But when you look at like the current iteration of D&D, it's like tieflings. They're just there. Okay, we throw some sort of demonic lineage from back in the day. Everyone's just okay with it. Dragonborn, the dragon fuckers. We just throw the shit in there and no explanation. And then other games are even worse, where weird Fey creatures. Oh, they're from the Fey, the outer Fey realm. What the hell are they doing chilling out in town? How like it's just lazy writing. It's lazy people saying we're going to throw all these things in there because people want them, and we're not going to do a single bit of work to integrate them. I cannot stand that. So it just bothers me. So with this thing, it's thank you.
Well, actually, Shadowrun is a much better integration than that, because in the Run Faster book that actually introduces all of the different various races, the various meta variants.
Yep.
They actually put them in a location and tell you where you would normally see them as per in the world. Stars are usually found in the Mediterranean Sea on boats. Imagine that. The ogres are usually found in the
Ask them out. Yeah, ogres are German forest.
yeah, ogres are in the Black Forest with the Germans, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Ogres and giants.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, literally,
the Cyclops are in a normal area, like in Greece, I think.
yeah. But yeah,
Some of the locations for where you would normally have found them on Earth.
yeah, just give me a couple paragraphs of text, give me a backstory, give me a reason. They don't do it.
Yeah, anything that would actually make them fit into society. Yes.
Yeah, and then again, with your character that we introduced into the game, which there's been much discussion about this, that has kind of come up.
I'm glad.
Yeah, it's just dude. I go back and forth. When I get to the end of this, when we start talking about I get to the morality portion of the crunchiness, I'm just like I was thinking about this. It just drove me nuts. But anyways, yeah, there's one of you. It's you guys have heard about this, and the background is you're from here, and that's where it's kind of okay at.
Basically, I have a distinctive style without actually getting any bonus from it because, well, I'm kind of unique.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what is it? I think it swaps 1 point of stats around. Right?
No. Distinctive style is basically that you have a calling card because you're different.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So.
And I am unique, at least in this area. I am pretty damn unique.
You're 100%.
So if anybody hears about a Minotaur, it's probably me.
Right, and that's there will be good and bad that come from that and whatnot. But so back to the thing. Back to this thing I hate though. It's causing all this kind of grief because it makes it not only difficult to predict the reaction, but you now have this. Now what's happening is I'm going to have this collision of player expectation for how the world works versus my expectation. And I run into this all the time running games where I think something plays out a certain way and a player will have an expectation, and it's not just baby M. It's.
I have lots of expectations. I just don't usually bring it up to you because it's your world.
I
it's
appreciate
it's your world, your rules. You know what? I can suspend my disbelief because you know what? I don't know everything. I never will know everything. I don't care to know everything, and it's not that important.
Fair enough, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
but
if you want to have fun, you have to. It's just like a movie. If you want to have fun, you have to go into the movie thinking they're going to do stupid things. Yep. You know what? I'm not going to try to pick out absolutely everything stupid that they do because you know what? That's not fun.
Yeah, I see. I have to actively turn off that myself. Where I'm like, I better stop looking for dumb shit. But yeah,
see,
so it's
that's what happened a while ago when I went to the movies and everybody else said, "Oh, that was a great movie," and I'm like, "No, it wasn't. It was horrible."
Which movie was
And
that?
then I realized that I didn't really want to watch movies anymore because I didn't want to turn that off most of the time.
Yeah, I have a huge problem with that. Where I got to try and figure out what's going on ahead of time, and then if I start looking for logical flaws. But now, see, again, I've been having these conversations with you and some internet stuff, a little bit of internet stuff, because that's just a quagmire of bullshit. But but I realized that when we were doing the where did I start? When we were doing the Hidden Lab set of runs, as I was going, I realized I had a bunch of these logical flaws in things, and I kept trying to rework stuff so that if you ran into it, it would make sense. Because I'm like, that doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Because I want to avoid that kind of stuff, but it's unavoidable when a basic tenet of reality is now different for somebody. So our particular problem is this idea of that justifying an act converts it from evil to good. The basis of my argument was this. There are things that are objectively evil. So killing a person, objectively evil. You can justify... let me hang on. You can justify
in
doing
society, in basic society, killing a person is objectively evil because of the moral code that most Western subscribers subscribe to. Most Western moral.
Right. Well, see, I would make the case. Let me state my position, and then you can tell me I'm wrong. That's why you're here. Killing somebody is objectively evil. No getting around it. It's an evil thing to do. However, based on the circumstances, there are plenty of scenarios that justify it. I am a firm believer, and have always been one, that some people just need killing. I don't have a problem with, I don't have a problem with wars being fought based on the reasons that they're being fought. I have no problem with putting pedophiles down like dogs. Wouldn't bat an eyelash. I don't care how you do it. You could line them up and slowly drive over them with a road paver for all I care. I don't care. Now, that doesn't change the fact that is an evil thing to do, but there are times when it's necessary. I'm okay with that, but it never becomes a good thing. It's not good.
No, it's definitely not good.
Now, but I have a mile of I have a mile of room for justifications. The example I always use is this. I know that killing somebody is wrong, and I know that torturing a human being is wrong. But if I got called to sit on a jury of a father, the case in California where the drunk driver hits and kills the guy's 2 kids, and then somehow magically the driver of that car got shot 7 times, and the father doesn't remember how it happened, even though he might have walked home.
I didn't see nothing.
Yeah. You put me on the jury for that guy? Like, dude, I don't know what happened. He's innocent. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, no, here I have him on video. I have him on video right here. You know what, man? Video is not always accurate. I don't think that's him. I'm voting not guilty. I don't. He could confess to it in open court. I'm voting not guilty. I don't because I'm like, you know what, guys? Some people need killing. But if you ask me, well, was that a good thing to do? No. Well, I mean, are you saying it was okay he killed the person? No, it was a horrible thing to do. I'm not convicting him guilty. You're a hypocrite. No, I'm a human. And in my this is a very grown-up topic. Don't you listen too much. My kid's like, yep, some people gotta die too. Don't what's said by grumpy old man Merwin does not get repeated, because my philosophies on things in the real world don't go over so well.
You're putting it on Twitch for all of the matters.
It's on Twitch for all the nerds to listen to. Nerds are different.
I am a nerd.
Yeah, some of the nerds aren't.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So that's our particular problem. Where I see this being a huge issue, the reason I bring it up is
the
I
current
can see
story
there
arc?
being. I can see but player conflict, because what happens, and I think this might come up for myself in the near future, because I offered to help some locals kind of get started playing, which might
Right.
involve me either running games for a bit or working with the person that wanted to run games. And I was thinking about it. I said, okay, so what happens if I go and say I put up a sign at my local game store, or we decide that we're going to find players on the internet, or whatever scenario you want. When you go outside of your group of friends. So if if there are certain topics that I would be would lean one way politically or the other, if I'm a conservative and I get a guy who comes to my game that's a social justice warrior, and I put a pretty standard theme in my game of the damsel in distress, or I build in a romance, or motivations that are based on my version of reality. Well, that person may not accept that. They may wildly revolt against that, because that's not how things should be. Well, that's how it is in my game world. Well, that's you're so awful. Well, hang on a second. Like, no. I mean, it's everyone gets the right to their own brand. But think about that. The more and more the world becomes polarized, how many people that love the same genres, love the same hobbies, might come together and completely blow up because of those kind of fundamental differences in how they view reality. Like we're playing in a fantasy world where like there's dragons flying around and people are throwing fireballs from their fingertips. I'm pretty sure that our rules of society don't apply, but I can see that being a huge issue. I 100% see that being an issue.
See it being an issue. I just think that anybody who projects that into projects too much of either direction, have your own personal bend. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But I think that in most cases, you're going around with weapons to attack things.
Yep.
That's already against your whole social justice warrior theories.
Yep. I can just see right now that someday somebody will load up this episode of the podcast, and they were a great fan right until the point when I bring that up. And then nobody listens to us. I don't care. I'm taking a page out of the Joe Rogan book. He's like, sometimes you just say it and you're just like, don't give a shit.
Right. And then if you're trying to impose that into everything you do, every possible thing that you could possibly do, you're taking yourself too seriously to deal with role-playing games.
I have no clue where that guy's head went.
Stay in reality and stay out of fantasy, because you don't know the difference between the two.
Can you grab me the creamer out of the fridge?
Sure.
Thank you. Did that happen with our mutual ex-friend? The man.
Oh no, he just couldn't handle the fact that I didn't want to go over to his house one day for the D&D game.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I bought a webcam so that I could be lazy once in a while and not drive a half hour over to his house.
That was too much. That was the end of it.
Stopped coming at that point.
Really? Wait, did he tell you to stop coming, or did you just stop going?
The game stopped for a little bit. He had another kid, and
what's it like, 13?
4 or 5.
I'll give the kid credit, man.
And
Go back, thank you.
he, one of the other guys that lives in this area didn't go over for the evening games on Sunday because, well, he really pissed him off too. And then we were starting that one back up because after a little bit of a break, and I bought a webcam because I was lazy. Yeah. And decided to start. I was going to do the webcam in too, because, well, I mean, 2 people in one spot and then everybody else is by themselves. Really, I didn't like the idea. I don't like it in our home game. Um,
Yeah, no, I will tell you,
and
I would.
I even understand a lot more why I don't like it now too. And it just ended up in he just never showed up again. So I'm just like, oh well, whatever. And everybody else is like, oh well, whatever.
Yeah, it's craziness. I mean, like, again, if I
The last real interaction I had with him was picking up Girl Scout cookies from buying them from his kids.
which by the way,
And
the sales are coming up. You need to buy them from mine. Just putting it out there.
and so
You can do it on the website. Have it shipped to your house. No human interaction required. Just saying.
his
So famous.
his yeah, but they're like $8 shipping.
No, they're free shipping.
You got so famous.
What are you talking about?
Ours are free ship.
On the website that you gave me last time.
Did they? I thought
On the
shipping was.
website you gave me last time, it was $8 in shipping.
What?
For one box.
You have to
What?
buy a certain amount of stuff for it to be free.
Oh, you have to buy a certain amount of stuff for it to be free.
Yeah.
Well, damn it! I'll order it in bulk. I'll bring them to you personally. All right. So, anyways, to wrap
But
up.
yeah, I picked up the boxes, and I happened to say because one of the boxes, I don't know, the box was like crushed or something, and so he says, "Oh, I'll give you this one," and I said, "Oh, you got gypped," and he's like, "Oh, I don't use that term."
Oh, that's right. Okay, I remember this part of the story. Like, all right, yeah, okay,
Okay, whatever.
yeah, yeah. The internet argument I'm in. It's I have a lot. I have things in my bag, my tool belt of assault that I could break.
It's like TARDIS, but bigger.
I think my kid's drunk on sleepiness and chocolate milk. All right.
What's
That-
even worse is I'm pretty sure Xander's going to go into the military and leave him behind forever.
That's, you know what?
It's probably better for him.
Maybe it is. But yeah, so the one I'm having on the internet, like I have some things in my tool belt I could fire out there, and I have to keep checking myself, but it makes me sad that when you put what people are supporting and what they're saying, and you put it in historical context, they literally can't see it. It's like and it's this topic. When you start telling me that because somebody says or believes something, that violence against them is completely justified and it's fair, it's open season, and you don't care because this is what needs to happen because they say they say mean things. I'm like, you do realize there's historical precedent for what you're justifying and the actions you're claiming are okay, and it doesn't lead anywhere good. It leads to people getting shoved in ovens. That's pretty much where it leads to every single time it happens. And then I'm like, why are you defending them?
Either ovens or poison gas. I mean,
Yeah.
look at the Mao one. That was pretty good.
Yeah. The trucks with carbon monoxide. Yeah, so it's like, then it gets turned around. Well, why are you defending them? I'm not defending them. I'm not defending them at all. I'm trying to stop you from becoming them, because the shit you're saying and the way you're justifying it is exactly what they did. It's exactly how you get down that road from disagreement to death camps. And they can't see it. They refuse to see it. And I'm just like,
because they're doing it for whatever group they happen to be espousing's own good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's for the good. Which again, I mean, the whole reason the German people are suffering is because the Jews had destroyed them from the inside, and we're going to keep destroying them. And that if we don't get rid of them, Germany will never be great again. Oh, well, that worked out pretty well for everybody involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so go ahead, it's just like, what are you doing, man? Like, and I made the point about evil. I'm like, the difference between good and evil is what you do or are willing to allow to be done, and your justification for doing it. So, just like the drunk driver example, if you want to tell me that you're going to go kill a pedophile because of what they did, I guess I'm not going to argue too hard about that. But when you tell me that because somebody believes a stupid idea that makes you angry, that you're going to advocate for them being killed, like nope, we got to stop. When they do something, totally different story. Totally different story. Start rolling your tanks into foreign countries, setting up death camps. We got a problem. You want to say some dumb shit about whose fault it is? I ain't gonna like it, and I'll keep an eye on you because I know where that shit goes. But until you've done something, I'm not. I'm not gonna condone assaults.
Something that is not worth worrying about.
You be vigilant against what could happen, and you take action to prevent it when it's about to. But we don't live in the Minority Report. We don't have pre-crime. You can't go execute somebody because they might do something based on what you think, based on what they're saying now. You cannot do that. And another example I gave him is, well, if you go so you wipe them out, you kill all those people. Well then, at that point then, does that mean that what I believe in, because it's different from what you believe in, and it's on the other side of the spectrum? Do I now become worthy of death because I'm now the rightest thing you talk to? If you go let's kill the 1%. Okay, well that makes the 2% now the 1%. So we got to kill them too. And where does it stop? How far down do you have to go? There isn't an end to it. There is no stopping it. There's no bottom. I lose you?
Nope.
Okay, good.
You got me? You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you now. So it's just frustrating. And like I said, it's one that's like, I'm a huge proponent of building up the community. I think these games are wonderful, are great outlets for a lot of different people, a lot of different ways. They have a lot of benefits. They lead to a lot of great things. But I worry that creative people will find themselves at odds over this kind of nonsense, and then you're just going to lose out. And in our home game, it's a problem. The other part of this is you mentioned, you mentioned being a bit of surprise. Like we used to hate the poly clubs in the old games in Shadowrun. They were the enemy, and now and if people's opinions have changed on that, which I heard some things. So I think I heard a few things after the fact that I think will be interesting when they come out. I'm not going to spoil anything. But if people's views on, if their personal views on those kind of behaviors and that rhetoric change, well, then all of a sudden those people stop becoming villains in their world. And then when I set them up as villains, they're like, well, I don't know why these people, I don't know why we care. These people aren't that bad. And you're like, what the fuck are we doing now? Just for example, like, can you imagine? Like, I'm gonna run a D&D game, right? I have this cool idea. You guys are gonna totally like wage war against these people that capture and enslave other humans. That probably not going to be a theme that resonates too well with like some parts of the religious world where human trafficking and slavery is still okay. They're like, well, what's the big deal? I bought 2 slaves yesterday. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, shit. I guess this game's not going to work here then. So it's okay. Mm-hmm. Whatever. All right. So that was my thing that I hate. So what do you got? Anything that you want to rail? You want to complain about in our home game? Give it to me. Both barrels.
The fact that we are missing out on a home game because of UFC and then a haunted house or haunted forest or whatever the hell it is.
Yep.
UFC and a haunted forest.
Yep.
Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? 2 stupid people who want to beat the crap out of each other, and does it really matter who wins?
Yeah, I mean, don't
because
get me
they're
wrong,
both I mean, they're both millionaires. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like the fights every now and again, but no, I agree with you. I've gotten so. I was having this conversation yesterday, and I
I
had
mean, there's such a thing as a Monday night, a Tuesday night, a Wednesday night, a Thursday night, a Friday night, a Saturday. Oh, well, okay. Saturday night is when we're supposed to be doing it,
Yep.
and a Sunday night. Do you think you could schedule something in one of the other 6 days of the week
Oh no,
once in a while?
no. That's why
That's my big gripe.
no. You're not wrong. So I have a couple thoughts about
That's
that.
a big gripe for every gaming group in existence. So, I mean, I don't really want to harp on it too much longer.
I want to harp on it a lot because it makes me mad. No, actually, I've come to some realizations about some of the things like our times, like again, our time slot sucks because of people's jobs, or because of people's jobs. I think if it lined up better, I would much rather do this on a Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday night. Middle of the week, nothing really going on. There's no events because I know that Fridays and Saturdays are tough. And you've had it happen too. Like all the in-laws are coming over for the weekend. Well, it doesn't technically affect you at 11 o'clock at night.
Right, it doesn't affect me usually because
Right.
they're usually day people.
Yeah, they're day people.
I can't do anything during the day.
But so let's say that our game we normally run our game at 6 o'clock like regular human beings on a Friday or Saturday. The after work crowd, like that would be a disruption. Okay, I get it. I understand and people's work schedules it fluctuates, so it kind of sucks. So we're locked into this schedule, but then it's like, look, man, like let's do this. Like come on, like DVR that shit,
watch it after the game's done, or get up in the morning. Don't look at any social media and watch it in the morning.
Mm-hmm. And again, now,
how was that bad?
Yep. Now again, if someone, now if you're like, oh hey, my buddy's throwing a huge party, he invited me over. Okay, I get it, totally get it.
And I guess I understand the haunted forest thing because it is probably a family thing, but at the same time, don't you have any other days of the week that you could use any?
Go tonight. So
what are you doing Friday night?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, yes, you probably have to work on Saturday, but are you really going to be spending 4 hours in the haunted forest?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
20 minutes there,
what bothers
and then you spend 20 minutes there. You spend 20 minutes driving there, 20 minutes there, and 20 minutes back. Look, that was an hour.
Yeah. What bugs me about it is the very sketchy nature of the communication about it, or the lack of communication bugs me. So, I was thinking about this, right? So, not to pat myself on the back, I didn't. Well, there's that. I've advocated that a couple of times, and that's just that's half logistics and half personality. Like he's not in the room with you guys. Oh Jesus! What the hell was that? Wow! Did you like sneeze or something? What the hell was that?
I heard it. I know my company across the room.
I had the devil come through my headphones there for a second.
Oh, okay.
It was weird. I gotta. It's like it was an EVP. We're gonna go. I'm a firm believer in ghosts. That was an EVP. That was a ghost talking to us. I guarantee you, go back and play this back in slow motion. That'll be a prophecy about the end of times. Sorry. Go ahead.
I can't now. I mean, you just totally got me. I'm done.
I'm sorry.
Check it out, man.
Maybe you can incorporate that into
No, I can't check it out till we're done. So.
Your ghosts just totally made me check out.
Oh no! It was going so well.
All of you people right now, try and turn that into a shadow run. I would definitely.
I don't know.
Okay, well, I was going to propose this. So what I was thinking was, I've done a decent amount of work leading up for tomorrow's game because after these conversations and a bunch of other stuff that's been going on, I realize I'm not putting together the kind of quality content that I want. I've been having logic issues with the story. Things keep coming up that I haven't accounted for. So I was doing that kind of work, and that's going to be awesome, but it means I devoted my time to that instead of some of the visual stuff, which, since we're using the internet, we're online, I feel that visual component is a bit more important now than it would have been if we were all sitting around a table and we could just kind of draw things, quickly. And I like the idea of holding myself to that standard of having, quality visuals and quality content. And it got me thinking, I'm like, well, would we have better games if we didn't have a weekly schedule? If it was like, hey, look, we're going to do it, twice a month or once a month.
Because somebody would find a way to cancel that too.
Yeah, that that was my fear, is that we'd be like, okay, we're going to do it every other week. And then they would plan shit on that night, and then you're gone for a month, which is a huge. Yeah, it's hard enough.
Right. It's already happened with the weekly game.
Yep, and I can tell you, man, it's hard
Couple
enough.
Times.
Yeah, it's hard enough to really get into the game with our time frame, our tech issues, the limited amount of time we have, especially when people are checking out mid game and the shit that's going on. We started going on about this, like, they're doing their thing. Well, I don't want to know what's going on, so I'm gonna leave a table. Like, that's a fucking dick answer. You're not. First of all, if you can't handle being involved in somebody else's part of the story and then not using that information, then you're kind of a pretty shitty player, and you pride yourself on not playing off things. Sit there and enjoy.
Right.
Be involved. Support the people at your table. Because, again, I learned this a long time ago when I first got into management. When, if you come to somebody and say, hey, look, man, I got this really great idea, and I think it'll make the job better, or you're talking, whether you're talking to your boss or you're talking to a subordinate and you're the boss, you start doing that and they're like, okay, and then they pull their cell phone out and they're looking at that, oh yeah, and they turn away from you, okay, yeah, and they walk away from you. Any desire you had to do that thing or to put a good job, you're like, oh, well, this guy just basically told me to go fuck myself. I don't care. Yeah. To hell with this guy. So if I'm sitting at the table, it's one thing if someone's like, hey, I'm gonna go, I gotta piss really quick, or they get up to grab, they grab a pop and come right back. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, we're not in church. You don't have to sit there, in your pew and not move. But yeah, if you're like, oh, I'm gonna go out and play with the mini football for 20 minutes while you're having your part of the game, like, dude, come on, really? Because not only are you not there to support the person, and you create some logistical hassles for us.
Because if we do come back to the other one,
now
you're not there.
Fucking get you. Besides
we don't even know that you're not there.
Yep. Besides all of that, if everybody at your table leaves while you do your part, that has got to put some pressure on you. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, your part takes forever. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm ruining your night by getting my 20 minutes to my 5 minutes of shine in the game, and it's just naturally going to put pressure on that person to not want to not enjoy it fully because they're worried about everybody else doing nothing.
They don't even want to do it anymore.
Yeah, and it's like
to not even be that.
Yeah, and it's just it's a bad look. It's bad. And again, we've talked a bunch of times about bits and pieces of this with the development of other players. I mean, if you invited your friends over to learn this super cool D&D thing, and the person running the game is talking to your buddy who's new, and you just get up and like, okay, whatever, do your thing, and just totally ditch them, like are they gonna want to come back? Is that
why would they want to?
Yeah, why would they want to? Part of this whole process is getting reinforcement, and they do something, and you're there to celebrate it. You're in for the highs and the lows, and people read that feedback. Nonverbal communication is like 70 to 80% of how we communicate. Feedback and reinforcement is one of the most important things in teaching. Like when I teach security classes. You engage the students, you get feedback, you encourage interaction, and you even if they say something stupid, which happens all the time, you give them credence for trying, and then you correct what's wrong. But you encourage that interaction. My 9-year-old, You know, I talk all the time about critical thinking. Why do you think that? You got to look at things and you got to say, okay, besides the facts of something, what is it? What is its impact? What is its influence? What does it mean? You have to have that engagement. You have to be involved. If your kid comes up to you and wants to read something and you blow them off, they're gonna stop wanting to read stuff. If your kid is creative and you're like, oh, you suck, I don't care, you blow it off, they stop doing it. I know that 100% from experience. Trust me, I know. Kind of thing. And it's, you know what? And it's no different with adults and people that you do these things with. No different. So
absolutely not.
All right. Well, it's enough bitching about our home game. So I am lucky I don't have a camera on. We've got 60 seconds set up. I was looking for my files on this. I can't find one. We're going to do a very quick one today. Just want to throw this out there. So again, another idea. I was thinking about it's a setting. We're doing characters. A character. So I will try and cram this in a 60-second window. Get my little timer set up here for myself. All right.
I'm just going to go check it out now, okay?
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I got 60 seconds to explain this character. So, you enter a small, dusky tavern. Everyone's huddled over their own drinks, keeping to themselves, minding their own business. And out of the corner, the sound of tinkling bells and light laughter catches your ears. You look up and see a dusky-skinned woman in flowing, garb, a loose skirt, a white billowy shirt, ever so slightly unlaced at the top, dancing through crowds of leering drunkards and overly touchy patrons, never losing her smile, never losing her step, enchanting and captivating everybody. Long locks of auburn hair cascade down around her shoulders and curls as she approaches you and introduces herself. I am Tinza. I am here to speak. I am here to service your needs, satisfy your dreams, and tell your stories. So tell me, where have you been today? There, that was in a minute. So the character Tinza can be worked into any setting. Doesn't have to be fantasy. This character is, despite looking like your run-of-the-mill barmaid, is actually a broker of information, a person who listens to the nonsense that spills out of the mouths of people when they're having a good time, when they're not on their guard, when they've been drinking or carousing or they feel comfortable. The secrets that they reveal. And then she parlays those with others, that information for coin. Not a nefarious character, not evil, not necessarily good, kind of neutral, but is played as a confidant. It can be the object of someone's desire, can be a confidant or somebody who just wants to listen and people want to tell them their stories. So I had the idea for the character because I think one of the best parts of gaming is when players sit around. When the players sit around between games, during games, and they kind of recap, their stories and their exploits from prior games. Remember when this happened? Remember when that happened? How cool was this when we found this storyline out? And I think that it's a good exercise to have outlets for that in your game. Now, in this case, I want to use that character potentially as a hook for other games. She has information, or you give her information, it goes to somebody else. She might be able to fill in parts of your stories that you didn't realize were a thing. You were here, you saw this crazy creature. Well, did you know it's it's the Cargonathi. Did you know that? Oh, what's a Cargonathi? Oh, it's this. So it just serves as a good outlet, and it gets away from the standard, what does the barkeep know, kind of thing. It shifts that over to a different frame, essentially. But I think it's a good exercise. If you can get people in the games to tell their stories in the game, in character, why not? Have that exercise. It's fun to do. One of the things we started doing in some of our games was trying to move away from piles of gold and magical items because I hate them. Sorry. As a reward, but start building, giving the characters connections to the community. You did well. They're going to give you a bit of land to let you stay somewhere, make you part of their, part of the tribe, part of their society, and whatnot. Those are great, little rewards that can pay off with over the life of a character with many benefits that aren't strictly financial. Plus, I'm a sucker for the naming of things. So like Game of Thrones, when they start tacking on titles, I love that shit. I love that. Khaleesi, the Unburnt, the Breaker of Chains, the Mother of Dragons. I can't stand the character, just throwing that out there. But I like all the titles. I don't know, something about that. It just seems cool. Like, I earned a title. It's kind of like, when you get a nickname, you're like, oh yeah, I got a nickname. That's awesome. Unless your nickname sucks, in which case, whatever. But anyways, just a character idea, shift some focus. An information peddling barmaid, this kind of person that most adventurers would maybe objectify and completely ignore. The invisible people. How many times have characters gone into a restaurant or whatever in any style of game? I mean, did they even notice the people serving them drinks? Probably not. Most of them never do. Maybe. All right. So on to the meat of our discussion this evening. So a case for crunch. So I've had a lot of discussions recently. Got me thinking about this. The idea of the mechanical depth of the system. And in big terms, is it important? Is it not important? And then in specific terms, what level of depth is worth going to? When is it too much? When is it not enough? So I wanted to kind of open on that, and I have some very crunchy mechanical parts to kind of go over. Because I've seen a couple different systems. So here's what started this whole thing. I am pretty much completely over the D&D combat system. It, at best, is about as fun for me as, carving through a tree with a spoon. In all of its many forms, it is
soft rotted tree, or is this
a nice thick hardy oak you got to carve through with a spoon.
But again, did it fall to the ground already, or
no,
is it like a live tree?
No, it's a live tree. You really got to work. You really got to work and get.
You're
in
not
there.
doing that.
Yeah, not going to happen. Well, so my problems with the system, the big things that bother me is there is literally zero reward for pursuing skill, anything combat related. Like in the old systems, the best you would get is a couple of bonus points, +1, +2, whatever, for your skill, for your effort, which meant that your master swordsman. I've dedicated my character's entire growth to being a master of the longsword, put up against an equal level fighter as you are that has never touched a longsword. That worked out in like old D&D to be like a 10%. You were 10% better than that person. That bugs the shit out of me. That's one thing. In the newer editions, everybody, you have the proficiency bonus kind of thing. That's in there, and that goes a decent way to giving people who have the skill at something. Now that's a very simplistic system. If you're proficient in something, you get a proficiency bonus. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 eventually. I think it maxes at 10. I think in 5th edition, like you get +10 eventually. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that gives you that gives you a bigger bonus. So yes, you as a proficient person have that bonus, and they have some other things kind of worked into the system to benefit you in the long haul. That does create some differentiation, but that's all static. It's not decision driven, because if you're a fighter, you just get proficiency with all the weapons. So you could pick up a weapon that you've never touched the entire campaign, and you're just as good at you're just as masterful with it as a weapon you've used every day. So I'm like, it still kind of bugs me a little bit. And then what really kills me. What?
Proficiency bonus is only +6.
+6, okay. What really grinds me about it, though, is that your lethality with the weapon is no greater than any other character using the exact same weapon. The game bakes in that your kill ability is completely dependent on stats, magical bonuses, those kind of things that enhance it. Now, I'm completely okay with those things existing. I'm not as anti-magic as you think I am anymore. But if a day one, if a day one person picks up a sword, never touched it before, and the master swordsman pick it up, if you both roll a hit, you both get a D8. In the older systems, it's 100% like that. Newer ones, I know they have, there's like the feats that you can get, plus 10 damage, lose 5 off your attack, and I like the ideal of that because obviously, again, if you're proficient, you get to the point in the game where you have a bonus way higher than you really need, so it gives you something for that. So I like the idea. I just don't think it goes far enough because take out the magic, Master Swordsman and a day one hit somebody with a sword, they both roll a D8. So if you haven't taken the feats, or let's say you went along a certain feat path, and then you, the Master Warrior, grab a long sword where you don't have a feat path with it, and a noob, you both do a D8 damage. And I'm like, it just doesn't feel right, And then it's compounded with the hit point system, so people become these giant sponges of hit points, throwing the healing spells, and then it's
But Jay, you're taking it wrong.
Okay.
The hit points, what that is supposed to be is your skill at not being hit with that longsword.
Yeah,
I know it's actually the points that you're building up in order to supposedly take the hits.
Yeah.
But it's really your skill in order to take that hit and turn it into something like a scratch rather than taking the hit and it going through you.
I get that, and I understand that. This is another part of my problem with this, is that's an abstraction of it, and it creates this wibbly wobbly bit of weirdness where if you hit somebody for 30 points of damage and they're one level, it's lethal. If you hit them for 30 points of damage, they're a different level, it's a flesh wound. Like it doesn't feel good to me. I'm not happy with it. So here's my case for crunchiness when it comes to this. I think that expanding that system, so we'll take just the strict mechanics of character skill, a dice roll to hit, and the result of that dice roll. I think God bless you. I think the system, like the D&D systems, are way too simplistic. And I think that it would be better, it would feel better if that became more crunchy. So, like the system that I envision, the more you exceed your number to hit, the higher your roll is, and this gives you full benefit of all of your bonuses, which the more you beat that target number by, the more lethal that hit should be. And there should be some mechanic for that. On top of that, I want to reward the players for spending time in game, actively using skills, pursuing new skills, making choices in the game that reflect that pursuit. So if you've decided to be a sword master and you hunt down trainers in the game, and you go have meaningful encounters and you use this skill, that skill should advance. That advancement should be clearly represented in the mechanics to make you significantly different mechanically than everybody else. So two people of the same relative power level, but one's never used a longsword and you're a master of it, that should show through. And that difference, should show up when you fight them. Their particular speciality should show up when they fight you. I keep adding layers to this. So if we're both fighting with longswords and you're a master of it and I'm a novice, you not only should you be better offensively, you should be better at defending against me because you know everything I'm going to want to do. You know my weapon inside and out. You know its strengths, its weaknesses, timing, recovery. You know the things that you would know the things that. Oh God, I hope nobody ever does this when I thrust. If someone does this, I know it's bad for me. That's the reality of it. If you went and looked at fencing or any real world combat sport like that, they will tell you, so if my opponent stands this way in the Spanish form, and they lunge forward doing this, and I block this way, that's not going to work because that causes this to happen to me, and they know that, and then they can do this to me back. They make fun of it in The Princess Bride, where he's like, he goes, I assume that you decided to use capoeira because of the rocky terrain. Yes, but I know that you would know that, so I decided to go with the Montezuma or whatever. It's one of the best scenes ever in a movie. It's great. Watch it if you haven't watched it. Sword Fight, Princess Bride. They had that little conversation. That's actually how it works, though. That's how it should work. And I don't see that being reflected. So my case for it is part of the reward of playing a fighter type, a martial character, and making and pursuing things in the game as part of the story to improve that skill, if that's what you choose to dedicate yourself to, I firmly believe should have many mechanical layers that reflect those skills and the differences in skills in the game. So that's my case for it. It's a feel-good kind of thing. We reward magic users for hunting down more spells, getting more power, learning more things. We don't really do that for the combat. I think it increases the lethality, it increases player involvement, and it gives it gives you another line of reward other than here's an ever-increasingly powerful magical item. It doesn't preclude you from getting those things. Those are also things, 100%. But it gives something. That's my case for it. It gives you a reward. So you as a player, I have to ask, would you be happy as a fighter in a system that has all those layers and levers and things that you can do, or do you think it just slows everything down and it's just way too much nonsense?
Depends on your DM. Completely depends on your DM.
How so?
If it worked and there was something that explained how it worked, but if your DM keeps on making your requests so that, you have this much time before this thing happens, or you have this much time before that thing happens, and this much time before that thing happens, you can never search out these places and up your skill anyway. So What's the point?
Now, that's
having the option.
Yeah. Now that's a fair point. Now I will say this, and I have thought about this a lot since we've started having these conversations. The way that games are built, and I don't know if it's a symptom of the video game culture we grew up in. I don't know if it's the predisposition towards things happening, but you are 100% right, and I've been aware of this. I'm becoming aware of this in building the games. You can't go from day one noob to savior of the universe in 2.5 weeks of game time, where everything's everything's piled on top of each other. Always something happening. Always go, go, go. Always things, always something. I 100% agree. There needs to be breaks between parts of the story. I started working on modules. One of my big pipe dreams is to actually design modules. I have a great idea for a style, by the way. I'm not going to get into that. Don't want to give out any spoilers to the 0 people listening to us on the internet. But I started working on modules. One of the things I started doing was I said, okay, well, there needs to be every scenes are written for a reason, and I started listing it out. And I had informational, interaction, art, role playing, and then I had scenes that were timed. I have the terms for them somewhere. I'm not going to waste time pulling it up, but I started to define these different things of the games where there are times when there's action sequences where things are absolutely happening. Then there are times where that are time sensitive, where it's okay. You don't have to you don't have to keep running after everything right away, but there is something going on. There is some pressure to do something, and then there are other scenes that don't have that, and need to not have that, and then you need to work in downtime. Like I hate random encounters. I can't stand random encounters. I can't stand them. I get the idea. The idea is to provide something. In the old games, it was to provide, it was a mechanism to throw extra experience points in there. It was a way to put some danger in the game. We never know when it's going to happen.
But it didn't even have to be danger.
Yeah, well, true. But in reality,
that was my biggest problem with people with people in random encounters. They always turn it towards, it has to be monsters.
Has to be a fight.
No,
Yep.
It doesn't. It could be a group of merchants. That's a random encounter.
Yep. But you know what? There's no murder XP. There's no murder hobo XP in a talking encounter.
Story XP then. Why isn't there? Why can you not? We're talking to somebody.
You speak blasphemies.
Experience points.
Experience points for not killing people. Experience points for not killing things.
This is in all of the DM.
I'm being sarcastic.
Absolutely.
I'm being sarcastic if no one knows. I agree. It was one of the first things that it's one of the first things that I was wholeheartedly in favor of moving away from was advancement based on experience points based on killing things. That was like I always had some story XP built in there. It wasn't based that it was a stat. I did it as a static. Okay, well this is 250, whatever, kind of at the end of a game. But yeah, 100% there needs to be that, and you are 1,000% correct. Are you raising your hand, or are you just stretching?
Encounters are perfectly fine. You just have to make them encounters, not necessarily random fights.
Yep. Yep. Getting feedback from the 9-ager. Hold on. Yep.
So that kind of thing. So you have to have at least a couple of random encounters so that you can try and build up your team. So you can go and try to rescue your friends.
It's a very good point. As the 9-ager has said, Laffney, as she's been called, because she's ridiculous when she's on camera. Yeah, having those encounters available to provide experience and information, items, whatever, is important. You have to have things. You cannot be on the on the bleeding edge of your story arc 24/7 in a game. There needs to be breaks in time and things have to happen. And I am aware of that now. You're 100% right. So let's just again. So let's say that the DM doesn't suck, so pretty much not me. And the game has worked out, where you have that time. You have downtime in game.
It'd be cool to be able to do that. I think that would be a very cool idea. I don't know how it would be, how you'd build that system, because be even more rules heavy than any other system that I've ever played with.
Yeah,
And
this is
D&D, Shadowrun, and everything else is already really rules heavy.
yeah.
As far as the systems are concerned, D&D is medium high. Depends on which version you're playing.
Fair enough. That
Pathfinder
is
is high. Shadowrun is excessive.
Yeah, you know what though? You know what the worst thing is? It's excessive and not in good ways. Like we were, I went back to the boards because I was working on finding ways to make the Matrix more accessible and less clunky, and streamline it to kind of alleviate some of the problems that we have with it. And it's just it's you know I have someone quoting me rules and they don't make any sense.
I find that the core rulebook rules are done so much better in Run Faster or Run and Gun. I really do.
Yeah.
A lot of them make a lot more sense. The problem is we don't have a Matrix one. We have a couple of Magic ones, and there's quite a few things in there that are pretty good.
Yeah, they're
But that's because I grab the books that I have are grabbed from a source that we don't have access to anymore, and I of course grab them towards thinking more along the characters that I usually play.
Yep.
And therefore didn't get everything.
Yep. All right. I want to continue this point. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go refill my drink. Hold on, interwebs.
Yeah, put wood and fire anyway. It is fired.
All right, I am back. I was hoping I'd come back and you'd be singing heavy metal while I was death metal while I was gone, but alas.
No.
All right, so
Wood is fired.
so my question is, if we had a system, so let's say somebody worked it out, and the system worked, but it made figuring out your combat numbers take considerably longer. So say, instead of just going, I got +8 to my roll, you had to go through a little list. Like this Shadowrun used to be like this. Okay, I ran, they ran, behind a wall, they're big, I'm firing at medium range. You go through this list of things for modifiers. Mm-hmm. There used to be a lot more of them, and then that would affect your target number. So let's say that it doubled it. So if a normal fight would have taken 2 hours of real time, now it takes 4, for example, kind of thing. But
you need to make a spreadsheet. You need to be able to translate the rules into like a spreadsheet or something.
Okay.
So that's easily grokkable once you put all the numbers in.
Okay. So I had that thought. I had that thought too. So if you didn't have a tool to make it easy, and I said to you, okay, it's going to double how long combat takes. because because
If combat was better, then I guess it's okay. But if it still just ends up being I swing, they swing, I swing, they swing,
then
do
yeah, no,
anything
not so
except
much. Okay. All right. So it wouldn't be if the end result was just more numbers that still became that kind of slog through things, then no. Okay. Fair enough. See, my thoughts on this was I had this thought a while back. I personally think I believe this firmly. I think that a big part of what everybody should be working on is integrating technology in a more streamlined fashion for the gaming, so that so that figuring out these things with the rules or whatever can be quick and efficient. So there's a thing in
I've
Magic.
always done.
Yeah, there's a thing in Magic the Gathering that the judges, like they teach the judges, the idea that Magic the game is not complicated. It is not a complicated game. It can be a complex game, and those two things are different. So I think that's the thing, is you need to have some way to manage a complex system, and you have to avoid being complicated. Because let's go the other way. Let's go to the simplest system. I was having this conversation as well. So the simplest system would be, all right, you're a dude. You describe your dude. I tell you what happens. You tell me what you do, and then at the simplest level, I decide if you succeed or fail based on what you tell me. No mechanics involved whatsoever. While that might make for some interesting cooperative storytelling, it's always going to run into this problem of you lose when I want you to lose because I have reasons, and you win when I want you to win because I have reasons, and you never feel like you're never in control of your fate. But that would be the simplest system. You don't need any stats, you don't need any dice rolls, you literally don't need any mechanics whatsoever. I just tell you if you succeed or fail.
Not a game that's cooperative storytelling.
Exactly. Right. So you need to have some input. So I was talking about, okay, well, what's the next most complicated, next simplest thing?
Something like Fate. Like the Fate system where there's like 2d6 is the only roll ever.
Yeah.
And you have traits, kind of like the cat game.
Yeah, the cat game, which
actually
that was not on the itinerary, by the way. We got to put that on there.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, was it on there? Okay.
It was listed number 1.
Cool. And again, I appreciate you guys' involvement in that. So the next easy system is that you have some sort of static statistic, and highest number always wins. And then the next step up would be the players and the narrator have some simplified mechanic to adjust that number.
That would be a die roll.
Well, I was thinking you deal out 10 playing. There is a system I think it was Cypher. I might be wrong with the name. This is one of the systems that we did when I was the limited time I was with another game before they kicked me out for being too much of a jackass. I'm still bitter. You would get dealt. You get bennies, they call them. So you get like little poker chips essentially that you could cash in to re-roll something, and then you would get the initiative was you dealt out a hand of card. You dealt out everybody got a playing card, and that was your initiative. And if you got the ace of spades, you went first, and you got a free re-roll. Like you got benefits for it. If you got the worst number, you got a penalty for it. Very, very streamlined. But yeah, there are systems where you get dealt cards, or you get the little Benny chips, whatever, and then you use those to modify the results. And then you get into dice rolling, and then dice rolling plus numbers.
There's also the ones that don't use any dice rolls, but they use traits.
Okay, how do those work? Roughly.
Those work in the way that you basically you create your character by thinking of words about your character.
Okay.
Like, for example, he's courageous. But most likely, when you're building the character, you have to build positive things and you have to build negative things.
I think that
Both sides,
I think
because
that's the Cypher system.
the
Cypher, right?
the DM
I gotta look that up.
the
while you're talking.
DM can grab one of the negative ones and apply it to the combat, but there's no actual dice rolls.
Okay.
Cypher system uses dice rolls.
It does use dice rolls, but they
Cypher system actually has that.
they do have that same system where the
Believe.
the characters get a certain number of traits.
Right.
Good. You have so many good, so many bad, kind of thing. Yeah. All right. So
It's very very similar to that. The Cypher system was probably built on the other system,
off of the Fate system.
which I think was the Fate. Was the original version of it was Fate.
Yeah. See, I played one with
And
yeah. I went to a game back in the day
the
with
Dresden Files used that system as a base actually.
Cool. Yeah, see, I went
and basically you have a bunch of traits that you can then modify what's going to happen by you bid a good trait, or because you really don't think you're going to win anyway, you put one of the bad ones up. Things like that.
Okay. I've also thought I've also thought an interesting take on it would be whatever you figure out what so you say, okay, I want to speed everything up, so you pre-generate a list of numbers, so we'll just say take D&D for example. So you pre-roll a few hundred D10s, D20s, whatever, and you have them in a list, and then every time something happens, like, okay, you attack, all right, boom, the next number on the list, it was a 17. Let's just stop rolling dice takes time. Rolling dice takes time. Stuff like that. But
That would suck.
I play. Yeah, it would kind of. See, I don't know. This is the thing. Would it suck? Would it suck does it suck to roll digital dice? Because that's essentially the same thing. See, but that's the same thing. The computer generates a number.
But
for
no,
you.
but I get to see the digital dice be generated.
So you want to see?
I did not see you generate that list.
Fair enough. But
At that time, there's a little bit of suspense. I mean, yes, you're pulling the number off of a sheet. There's suspense while we wait to see what the next number on the list is, but it's not the same as the I get to do something to cause the suspense to reveal itself or to resolve itself.
Gotcha. You go to sleep. It's like
It's a weird psychological thing. How's that?
It is a weird. No, you're 100% right though. There are a lot of things in these games that I 100% were built in because because it plays into certain things. It's the game theory and the I can't remember what the term is for how you pace the rewarding out, the reward systems and whatnot. But yeah, see, I played in one back in the day where with Trevor, where like your character was. Like, I think everything was rated like you were like good, bad, or neutral at something,
Right.
and then everything was a D10 roll, based on what you were rated versus what the other person was rated. It was interesting. It was really simple. Yeah, what's up, Shorty? Some water. All right, then you need to take your glasses off and lay down because it's super late. All right, so let me sum up this question and make sure that I, get a simple answer for it. If you had a way to make it not be a huge time sink, having a much crunchier system, a more mechanically in-depth, a more complex system, totally fine, and can be interesting. Terrible if it is super time-consuming.
Correct.
Fair enough? All right.
Super time-consuming or just kind of ignored.
Yep. Yeah, That's another problem. All right. So magic systems with this. So the same kind of thing applies. So I am in love with the idea that the wizard, the spellcaster, so an arcane spellcaster, essentially has access to the building blocks of magic, and then the player is entirely responsible to combining those blocks to generate effects. So you can do that at a very simple level.
Perfectly fine with that.
I
Doesn't
obviously, and
bother
I
me a
obviously
bit.
got super crazy though, and I have different levels of building blocks, and then those building blocks translate into statistics, which you then combine together to generate costs and whatnot. So in my head, the system.
I'm gonna bring the mage book the next time we go. We have the nerd herd, by the way.
Yeah. Well, if I see, I remember Mage the Ascension. What wasn't isn't that their whole system is based on there are like 5 premises of magic that everything falls into, and then in order to keep
You
with
can make
the
things be combining them.
yeah, and in order to keep, and then the trick of the game is that you have to keep with the masquerade essentially. So the magic is supposed to be what they call it, coincidental. So like if you want to make a fireball, you can't just throw fire from your fingertips. There's got to be some sort of plausible, realistic explanation for why there's a ball of fire there. Otherwise, you violate it.
If you're certain forms of mage,
Is that okay? So
some mages don't give a damn.
okay. Yeah. So again, same thing. If ultimately with this, if the system can be made smooth, where it's not a huge time sink, then we're okay with it. See, what I was thinking was the players have the building blocks of magic. There's rules laid out for the creating effects, the power level of effects, how you can combine the building blocks, and then there was again, I'm a very firm believer in the idea of there being drawbacks as a gating mechanism. So you can wield phenomenal power, but you can't do it infinitely. You can't, and there's got to be a risk and a reward to it. I'm a firm believer in that. But the idea was that I thought I could have that system.
It depends on how feel bad it is, Jay. I mean, that's the way I look at it. If it's too feel bad, then there's no way I would touch it. I'm one of the biggest proponents of let's try it,
Open
see
magic.
how it works. Let's burn it and see if we kill ourselves easily, etc. I mean, I'm a big proponent in it, but at a certain point, if it's too feel baddy, like you do one thing and you're suddenly pretty much useless for the rest of eternity,
Yeah.
then it builds up and you just stop wanting to do it at all.
Yeah. See, my goal had been that
I can understand the burnout.
yeah, that as you progress,
The magic burnout in Shadowrun, I understand the burnout now for once.
yeah. And my thing was as you progress, the smaller effect, like this is my problem. Like this is my problem with the cantrip thing for D&D. I don't have a problem with you getting to a point where you have a low level effect that you can use a ton. Maybe not infinite. I don't know if I'll ever be okay with infinite. Well, maybe for really limited stuff. But to start out having an infinite supply of magic, that bugs me. Because like Firebolt, that cantrip, it's no different than an archer with 50 arrows can fire 50 times in a combat, no problem. I get mechanically, conceptually, it makes the characters not useless. I get that, but that's relevant. Like a D8 damage at range every round that you can cast without drawback at level 1. That's a huge shift. And essentially in the power level and how those characters play out, because you're always combat relevant.
Not useless in the first couple of levels anymore.
Right.
Oh, wow. Darn. Sorry.
See,
I'm sorry your mage isn't useless for the first 5 levels of his career.
I'm not saying, again...
I'm sorry.
Well, you know what?
I wish you were more useless. I mean, that would be so much more fun for the player playing them. And then suddenly they get infinite power. That's so much fun to be the whipping boy of the entire group.
But here's the thing. But let me ask you this then. Hang on. So let me put this point to you, because I wanted to. I'm
Just,
looking forward,
geek the man.
looking forward to arguing about this. I've been waiting for it all week. So, here's the thing, though. Are you saying that a character's only value is what they provide in combat?
No, but the character's
then-
only value.
So why does it?
If they're completely useless in combat, completely. I'm not talking about a value of useless. I'm talking about completely useless. A first level mage in second edition D&D
Completely
is
useless.
completely useless.
Yep, I agree. But here's the thing, and you've already said this. I set you up in a clever logic trap. There should be more facets to the game and to the character than what you can kill in combat. So that, and it goes back to the point I made last time we were talking about how the character should be balanced kind of on this like triangle of skills, stats, abilities. That wizard could have been key to solving 10 things in the course of that game. Instrumental to solving a problem, finishing a puzzle. The mage could be your could be your face character in the group. They might be your charismatic one. They might be a good negotiator. They could solve 50 encounters in the course of your game that aren't combat, and then because when you get to the combat one, they suck. We're like, oh, that character's useless. Well, the game shouldn't be built that way.
For that reason.
Huh?
I got rid of control for that reason.
See, and this is, and I was arguing with Baby M about this. Like, he built stats onto his character, or skills into his character that weren't combat skills, and then every time I said to use them, he's like, "No, I don't want to do that." What the fuck are you doing? I'm like, you got the con skill. Roll your con skill. Tell me you're going to con somebody. And then I was trying to get this point across to him. Like, yes, the game is better when you tell me you're going to con somebody, and you as the player give me what you're going to say. And I'm going to reward you or penalize you based on how shitty you do, to a certain extent. And then, but I'm going to let your skill come into play. That's why you took the skill. That's why you spent points on it. And he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like you.
See, that's what I was wanting. But you never even allowed me to do it.
What are you talking about? Hang on. See, you
one time, time against the stupid
the guards
guy that you weren't going to let me win anyway.
No, you conned your way past the freaking gate guy to get on the first run. You let you roll for that.
You're right. You are correct. You did make me roll for that one.
I will say though, I'm not gonna.
But
okay.
The orc character that I absolutely despise because he's way too realistic.
Oh, Big Daddy.
That could not be touched by anything. Out of me.
In my defense, so two things on that. Well, a couple things on this. One, I will admit, and I've already conceded this point to you for all time. I have not been very good, maybe ever, but at least recently, at balancing and building games to account for all of these things. That is 100% bad on me. I put a lot of work and thought into like setting up for what would have been our game tomorrow if we didn't get screwed by the Enchanted Forest, because I wanted to make sure that I had put thought into all the different things that people could do and the way the game could go, and I hadn't been doing that. So that's one. That's my bad. My bad, 100%. Thing two. I did build that character. There's a trait. I built that character around being mentally tough, just ignorantly so. And three, this is one of these times, and this is a whole other line of discussion, debate, and argument. I really do think that there need to be some things that are protected from randomness, for the narrative effect. It's the example I will give you is with the villain monologuing. Like if it makes sense, it's a good scene, it's dramatic, and you see it in Critical Role all the time. Like, yes, it's not mechanically advantageous to let the bad guy run his yapper for 30 seconds and not do anything. I get it. But there are just some times when, like, just things should go a certain way. Now, I'm also completely okay with, and again, you know, there are times when the results of the dice should 100% be able to radically change the narrative. Like the you know, in our super old home game where you made you made the weapon, it got stolen, your soul got taken, kind of thing. That was 100% like the dice came up with 20. That's how it went. That's not what my plan was. That was not what my narrative plan was at all. I expected you to win that. I expected you to have an epic fight and win, progressing the story. That happened. I'm like, that's frickin' perfect. Narratively, it worked out. I'm okay with both. And yeah, I strongly wanted to have a good scene. Now again, that scene with Big Daddy did not play out the way I had wanted it to because I didn't prepare it properly. I didn't account for what everybody could do. And yes, I was 100% narratively inflexible about that. And again, you know, bad on me, potentially, you know, depending on certain circumstances. But no, I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. So, all right. So my final point, and all of our discussions about morality and whatnot, and perceptions of good and evil had got me thinking about this today. So, the whole idea of alignment, not alignment as a mechanic. So not.
I think it's outdated.
Well, let me make my case for this.
Sure.
The old D&D system of it, where you picked your alignment and whatnot, and everybody ignored it. It was not at all representative or reflective of how real people behave, especially given the situations that player characters end up in, because there are going to be there are going to be times when you can't be your lawful good character can't be super squeaky clean, and there need to be ups and downs. Narratively there should be ups and downs, and there should be character crises, and people should. It's a good narrative tool when somebody is forced to kind of go against their core nature because they're forced to, they have to, or maybe they slip a little bit. So that's a good storytelling tool. So I get the basic idea. My thought is this. My case is this. Would you be okay? How would you feel about a system where there was a much more in-depth system for that? What I was kind of thinking was you take the axes of things. So law, order, chaos, good, evil, benevolent, cruel, 5, 10, whatever, however deep you want it. And then you as the player kind of rate your character, how you think you are going to be to start the game with on those things. So having a very, basically, essentially having a personality test for your character.
I have a question.
Sure.
Before you go any further, what's the difference between good and evil and benevolent and cruel? Because, at least by the original definitions of alignment, benevolent and good were basically the same thing.
Well, the difference is this: you can.
Basically. Oh no, I guess one's selfish and one's cruel. Okay, I got it. I got the cruel side.
Yeah. So this thing. So you can be like, I'm a good person. I would not murder somebody. I would not destroy someone's life. I'm a good person. But
I'm never going to do that one. Gotcha.
Yeah, but I know exactly. But that doesn't mean that I walk around and every time I see somebody who has less than me, I open my wallet and give them what I have. it's the it's the loving father who makes you pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I had this exact thing happen in my real life. My great aunt and uncle were super. Well, she's still alive. He passed away. Super nice people, and came to the aid of my mother far too many times. It's a whole line of discussion we're not going to get into on the internet. But were there several times in my life when I was younger and when I got older to either help out or bail me out of being a dumbass a couple of times. And then there was a day when I did something stupid. Completely, horribly, irresponsibly stupid. And I turned to him for help, and I said, "Hey, look, I screwed this up. Here's my situation. Can you help me out?" And he said, "No, no." He goes, I could, but I won't, because you need to learn this lesson. You need to be responsible for the decisions you make. You need to be accountable for them. And I've helped you before, and you have to learn this. I'm not doing it. I will not do it. I will not do that for you. And I was fucking pissed. I'm like, dude, bullshit. I was so mad, right? I came to realize shortly thereafter, though, I'm like, you know what? That's one of the best things anyone has ever done for me. Because it forced me to accept the consequences of what I did. So I would never classify him as not being a good person. But in that moment, he wasn't benevolent.
He wasn't benevolent, but he wasn't really cruel either.
So this is the thing. This is why it's not a binary thing where it's benevolent or cruel. It'd be like benevolence is 10 and cruel is 0, and you would pick somewhere in between there, kind of thing.
More of a 6-ish, I think.
Okay, yeah. So this is the thing. So basically, you would take this. So the system is you would take this personality test, and it would allow you as the player to get a much better gauge. Like, well, this is kind of how I feel about these things for this character. But the mechanical part of it is I would have that, and that would be a tool that I would challenge a player's
to tell whether or not you're going right.
Well, and then I would actually use that to challenge decisions in the game, and say, no, like it's like you claim to be you claim to be good, and you're not, you're not malicious, and you're not, your character's calculating, and you're, whatever it is. So no, because the bartender insulted you, you can't burn the bar down and kill everybody inside of it. Like, you will not do that.
I like calculating, Jay. I like calculating. That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good axis.
This is the thing, though. So
calculating versus impulsive.
Yeah. So yeah. So here's the thing. So what would happen? So this would be this. So I would say to the player, hang on a second. Look at, I want you to look at where your lines are, really quick, and that action, based on the situation, your response to that is way out of character for you. I'm not going to allow it. I need you to rethink what you're going to do. And then,
right, that sounds cool.
Yeah,
and I like it.
And then what everybody would know is this is your baseline. You're allowed to deviate a little bit from it based on the circumstances and whatnot. And there are times when it can be an extreme swing. Like the scene in Dragonlance where Tanis walks up and Flint died of a heart attack, and he sees Barham standing over him, and he freaks out and cuts him to ribbons. Like, absolutely. Like, okay, normally wouldn't do that. That's a pretty extreme. Tanis, yeah, that's a pretty extreme situation, right? So during the game, your actions can shift those kind of things a little bit here, a little bit there. So you may get to be that way. You might become hardened and cruel. You might become numb to the world.
If you continuously do something, your track can change.
Yeah, and
if you continuously do the same thing over and over again, you could actually be changing the personality of your character over time. Right.
And this is the thing, though. See, I don't want to. I don't want to use it like the old alignment system was used as a you did something bad, so now you lose experience. I punished you for developing your character. That needs to go away. This is not a tool for punishing you.
It's not a punishment. It's just a way to keep track of where you're at.
Right, so
that you can consistent within your own character.
Yeah, and I think it'd be it'd be hard to manage on the narrator because obviously it's another fucking sheet of stuff. Another little thing you kind of got to make notes on. It's more bookkeeping, which people.
But you can turn it into something that helps you teach your players.
Yep. 100%.
Because you could actually go back with them and go over what they did during the game, where you might just make a little tick saying, this wasn't this way, this wasn't this way. They didn't have anything big.
Yeah.
If they had just a bunch of little things that you saw them going in one direction, you can ask them, were you trying to shift in this direction, or were you just a little off this game?
Yeah. No, and not to mention this is one of the points that I've made a few times, and if we do get to a point where I'm teaching these new people how to play, something I want to be really big on is what is for all the different definitions that of people with role playing, the biggest thing that I see is it's definitely a failing in our own games, and I'm not saying that I'm a stellar person at it either, because I certainly have not been at times. The whole premise is you create another person, a unique person in the game world. All of your decisions should go through that personality that you created. And you, as a player, should be aware and intentionally choosing, I'm intentionally choosing to do this thing that's a little bit out of character based on these reasons. And that players should be cognizant of that. And unfortunately, far too often it comes down to, well, I'm just going to do whatever wins me the game, and to hell with the character I told you I created and the personality I'm supposed to have, because it's not convenient right now, or because that was cool when we were thinking the game up, but now I want to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And I don't think it's a good way to play. I don't think it lends itself to successful games. So, all right. So I'm actually surprised you agree on that. That kind of makes me feel warm and fuzzy. So that's my case for crunchiness in the game. So I do think
if it's done correctly, I think it would be a hell of a lot of fun.
That is the trick, my friend.
Because I really, really, really like something reminding me that I'm supposed to be doing something, because yes, I kind of lost my temper that last one, and I did ask things that this character that I'm currently playing would have no idea about, but
what are you gonna do? There's again, I as much as I like to bitch about our home game, I do try to keep information from all parties separate when I'm discussing different parts of the game with them, because I don't want anybody to get all butthurt, first of all, but secondly, I have an objective I want to accomplish with the players that we have, and part of being a good leader and narrator is that you have to work the personalities that you have, so that you don't have gigantic flaming meltdowns. So it is what it is. All right, so that's really easy to fly through 2 hours of this. My voice is shot. I spent 7 hours in a row talking yesterday. I had to do more talking at people today. That's what I do for a living. It kind of sucks sometimes. But
I do like your alignment idea, especially the depending on the system, again, it has to be, there's got to be some, and there's got to be some, that sounds cool.
Yeah, and you know what else? The other benefit of that I really
player
like.
Aid. It's a player /GM aid.
Yeah.
See, I'm all for player and GM aids.
Yep, I'll tell you this. The other thing that
then again, they have to be done properly. Otherwise, they're just garbage.
Yeah. See, the other thing that got me excited about it was the idea that it creates a very realistic tool where you can say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go back through. I remember the events of the game. I'm going to go through. I'm going to look at your your little personality chart here, and I made little check marks on it when you were above and below and right in line. And now I'm going to reward you. You're going to get rewarded based on that. That's another facet that you can use to like, hey,
Give rewards.
it's like, hey, this was you made this choice in your character, and I made a note here because I totally know it was not the best game decision, but it made sense for your character. Good job. It gives you more ways to reward players with if you're using
Which
experience.
you've already done with me, probably, so.
Yeah, I started doing that with the Shadowrun recaps, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right, cool. All right, well, for all 0 people on the internet that listen to us, thanks for joining us. Appreciate that. I am going to try and stick to a pretty tight schedule, so my goal is by Sunday I'm going to be on our Facebook group, the Grommcast. Please, anybody that listens to this, please send us a join request. I'd love to have you there. I'm going to try and write out some of these ideas in a little more detail and anything I thought of afterwards. Post it up on there so people can look at it. I'm going to get this video posted to YouTube by Monday. There'll be a link to it on our Facebook group. You can always come back here and watch the replays on Twitch. I will get this into some sort of podcasting format. I can already convert it into like an MP4. I think I'm going to try and figure out how to convert it into an audio only file. That way I can have a link on the Facebook page. Plus I can also put it on a podcasting app or two. But yeah, if you listen, send us a request. Hope you enjoyed it. Appreciate your time. And I'm done talking. So goodbye, Internet. Is that what we're closing with?
Sounds good.
All right. Goodbye, Internet.
Goodbye. Hello and goodbye.
Hello and goodbye. I like that.